Hey guys, David from the Modern Martial Artist here. Going to talk about Broner versus Vargas. This was a very good fight. Before I get started, I just wanted to say whenever you see striking thoughts, that means it's like kind of a podcast. So there may be pictures in the future. I think I might kind of experiment with like putting, like if I'm talking about something complicated, some kind of technique, I might put a picture here or there, maybe like a circle and an arrow. So I could do that in the future. But when you see striking thoughts, that's the podcast section. The reason I do that is because I just don't have time to make videos about everything. And I'd like to be able to give my thoughts on the fights immediately after they happen or a day after they happen as well. Video editing takes a shit ton of time. So if I had more people, if I had more time, but I have a lot of time. Honestly, I work at a place 2 days a week, and the rest is just is this, and I can schedule my private lessons how I want to. But I just don't have time because video editing takes that long. I literally need another person, and I have another person. Iman Rashid's gonna start making videos weekly, bi-weekly, talking to a couple other people. But yes, if you see striking thoughts, that's just going to be a podcast. So I'm sorry there's no video. There will still be one or two videos a week. They will be high quality. The last thing I want to do is have my channel end up like using those like super close cropped in, no color images. Just spouting nonsense over nothing kind of stuff. I could make a lot of money off of doing that. That formula has been proven. But I don't think you guys would like that. So, getting right to it, this was a pretty decent fight. Vargas fought the way he always fought, which is, if you didn't hear my breakdown before, which is he's, just kind of stands with a square high guard. He can turn sideways to kind of jab and kind of circle, but he doesn't do that too much. He mostly just square, and then he'll duck in with his right, and he'll tuck his chin and stay kind of low. And I said that he's susceptible to uppercuts with that kind of posture and stance, but not as much as you'd think because, you could still slip an uppercut moving side to side, just like if someone's coming in with an overhand or straight on, side to side head movement can still work. That being said, I did say last time that even with that being the case, I was concerned about uppercuts for him specifically in this fight because Broner uses Philly shell, which perfectly aligns your right hand for these really tight uppercuts right up the center line with barely any adjustment needed at all. It's basically like slip uppercut. So, but Broner didn't actually start off with Philly shell. He used not even like a loose high guard, but with his palms almost turned out. It was almost like like one of those old timey 18th century like kangaroo guards. And, that's good at dispelling punches and being able to just kind of stay in the same place, but it also leaves you pretty open and you take some shots during it. And I didn't really understand at first why he was using that. And so I kind of went back and looked at the beginning of the fight after watching it midway through. And because I was wondering, why is Vargas gassing in the middle of the fight? Why is he like? It wasn't that his output slowed down. Maybe it did. If it did, it did, but it wasn't like drastic. What I noticed is that his punches had just lost all of their snap to them, and weren't really a threat anymore. And it's because of the technique that Broner was doing with the guard. And you could do this next time you're training or with a friend or whatever, and just try this because it doesn't sound like it'd do very much, and it doesn't sound like it would be this effective, but it is. So the technique is basically, it's not just a parry, right? Parrying is annoying, but that's mainly for defensive purposes. It's not to tire your opponent out. What Broner's doing is every time Vargas throws a one or a two or whatever the hell, he's pushing his hand way offline from where it's supposed to be. He's not just pushing it back. He's not doing it slightly, because generally when they teach you to parry, they teach you just do it as little as possible, so you stay in position. It's like a support for head movement. You don't want to rely entirely on it. You move your head, you parry just enough to get the hand offline to create a nice angle to counter for you. But the technique that Broner's using is throwing his opponent's hand offline as much as possible. And what that does is that just saps all energy out of your punch. And like I said, I know you guys are sitting there thinking, what? That's bullshit. That won't do that much. Try it for one round. Try it for one round. just throw at your partner and then have them throw your hand away as far as they can as possible, and then try to regain your guard off of that every time and resist your hand getting thrown way offline every time. It's one of the most tiring things in the entire world to do. So one of the things that was good about that kind of guard for Vargas was that he was able to attack Broner's sides really well. He chose to do that because the way that Broner had his hands out in front of him and his elbows in tight. If you want to think like a Muay Thai stance, or even like when you're in a Muay Thai, like a clinch, and your elbows are just kind of very much in front of your body instead of to the side at all, and square straight forward. So Vargas was able to come in and really attack his body with body jabs, crosses. But to attack his sides, which were wide open, he wouldn't sidestep and try to angle around him, which I think would have really forced Broner out of that stance. If you think any opponent who circles like Sugar Ray Leonard or sidesteps like Lomachenko, any of that kind of stuff would have been effective for exposing kind of his sides. But instead, Vargas chose to just kind of press right in and attack, and that was okay for that kind of guard. But when in the mid rounds, when Vargas's strength had been sapped and his punches were losing their effectiveness, and his work rate went down just a little bit, Broner switched to kind of the Philly shell, or his interpretation of it. Like I said before, it's not like Mayweather's Philly shell in a lot of regards, and that lined up that uppercut perfectly. And every time Vargas comes in, his go-to is to dip to the inside, kind of step in with it, so he doesn't. It's not just head movement; it's footwork too, to open himself and his opponent up. And his go-to is to just dip to the inside and circle out of it. And he couldn't do that because he kept getting these uppercuts. So that really limited his offense. He was then tired, and at the same time, he defensively, he couldn't escape from his offensive movements as well as he could. It was still a very close fight. Even with all that happening, Vargas was still putting on a good show. He was still landing shots. Broner seemed to kind of lackadaisical at times, just not going as hard as he could, or not going for the finish, or not trying to really put on the pressure. But he did at times, and I don't know. The fight was very, very close. Very close. I think I'm biased probably because I mentioned before, I don't think I've ever said this about any fighter, but I just don't like Broner because he insults people's ethnicity, which like I said, I love trash talking. Absolutely love it. And it's one thing if you insult like a country, like, oh, your country's shit or whatever. I mean, that's still kind of iffy, but if you do it jokingly, whatever the hell. But if you're straight up insulting like an ethnicity, or humping your opponent in the ring, I love clowning in the ring too, and I love trash talk, but he's just he brings it to a place where it's not just selling the show anymore, where you start to think he's actually a douchebag. So, I mean, with that bias, I think that Vargas won. Not by a whole lot. I think he just barely. I think he barely won because he was so much stronger the first rounds, and then I felt he stayed competitive, and won a few of the later rounds, even though they were very even. I feel he just kind of edged it. That being said, I understand a decision for both. So some other nice stuff that both fighters were doing. I really liked Vargas's combinations to the body, varying between the head and the body. Jab to the head, jab to the solar plexus, come in with that right, left hook to the body, right hook to the body. Very well done. Very, very good fighter. Like I said before, very simple. Very simplistic fighter, but simplistic doesn't mean bad. Simplistic fighters are very, very good. And stuff I like that Broner was doing, I liked that lean in all your weight onto your lead leg and then just kind of explode with your right hand, like Roy Jones Jr. liked to do, like Mayweather liked to do a little bit. That was good when he was setting those up. He was landing with his left a lot, throwing some really nice hooks. So, good fight, very entertaining fight. Vargas made me a fan, not so much because of his fighting, because I'm way more drawn to interesting fighters, even if they're not as good a lot of times. But the way that he handled Vargas shit talking, or not Vargas, the way Vargas handled Broner's shit talking after the fight made me a huge fan, because that's the perfect way to stand up to someone who's being an asshat. Like, absolutely perfect. He did not sink to his level and start going into the shit he did, because Broner's just like, look at your face, I won the fight, da 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 da, I beat you. It's like, dude, don't be that cocky when the dude's standing right there, ready to go, is what I'm thinking. And then Vargas didn't insult any personal part of him. He didn't insult his people. He wasn't like, oh yeah, da da da, your mom, or da da da, like a seventh grader. Instead, he was just like, I'm ready to go right now. You didn't beat me. I'm ready to go right now. I respect the judge's decision. I felt I won it. I felt it was close, but I'm ready to go right now. And so I'm like, okay, you give an accurate account of the situation. But you while still essentially telling the guy to fuck off in a way that's classy, but not at all being a wimp about it. You're not like, well, you may have some points. No, he's right there saying I'm ready to go, but he's not going down to his level. So he made me a fan with his behavior after the fight, actually, more so than during the fight. Either way, good fight. I don't think Broner really showed that he's he's obviously not as exceptional as he thinks he is. And I don't know if that was a big enough showing to really make an impact to where he's going to, get that superstar level that he wants and get those huge fights that he wants. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, the thing about the trash talking is that it really only works if you have a really, really, really good record, because then you're pissing people off on two levels. One, you're acting like a child, and then two, it's annoying because they're acting like a child and they're still winning. And you're like, oh my God, why won't this get... And people just really want to see this guy get his face bashed in for those two reasons, and they need to kind of build on each other. But if it's just one reason, that the guy's acting ridiculous, but he doesn't have a perfect record and you've seen him lose before, it's like, well, I mean, who cares? He says some mean stuff. I could just pull up him getting hit, his ass beat multiple times if he really bothers me that badly. And if it really does bother you that badly, I mean, you need to go do some more shit with your own life, If a guy's bothering you that bad, just go outside and do some, go outside, basically. Yeah, so, decent fight. Broner's definitely not as good as he thinks he is, but it was competitive, and I understand the argument for him winning. I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch, actually, of this fight. I wouldn't be all about it. I wouldn't be like, yes, rematch, let's go. I wouldn't care that much, but I definitely wouldn't mind it. I thought it was a good fight. It was a decent fight. So, yep, that's all I got to say for this one. New breakdown coming up this week, as well as Wonderboy Thompson footwork coming out either today or tomorrow. Footwork like combination drills, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's it for now. So, happy training.